In the bottom left for Team Exxon, he is the red Protoss, Gerald.
I mean, Gerald is a player that definitely likes the late game. Like I just said in the intro, I've seen him play plenty of games with SkyToss, and I think it's something he's pretty damn good at as well. I'm just afraid that he's going to have a hard time getting there without actually being behind. I think in general, Lambo is a really good kind of no-nonsense Zerg, that he scouts what he's going up against, and he knows exactly when to strike before those builds truly become dangerous. So I have the feeling that Gerald is really going to have to play his absolute heart out in the early game and the mid game to properly get to where he wants to be. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to get that done, man. Like, this is such a big series for Lambo. I am absolutely expecting the best possible version of Lambo to show up here, right? Like, this is not a series to mess around.
No, it is not. It's not only the lower bracket of the playoffs here, but it's also just, again, like, it must be tough actually to be Lambo right now. I feel like we constantly talk about how he is back into his return on form. He's coming back. He's not the greatest right now. And if he was actually paying attention to us, like, hearing that over and over again might get a little annoying, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But anyways, like, it's a lot to prove, and to himself as well, I think, because he knows he can be one of the best Zergs in Europe. Again, he just needs to actually get there. So, you know, for instance, beating Gerald would be nice, but also finding out this proxy that Gerald is throwing down would be nicer to start Lambo off to that victory. I don't think he's going to find it, though, because I don't see a reason as to why he would be checking for it.
Yeah, that's incredibly early. The proxy Stargate, it's not something we see super often. The big up of this build is obviously that oracles will show up in the main base a few seconds before they normally show up. That may not seem like the biggest deal, but a lot of these Zerg builds really come down to the second. So they expect an Oracle to show up at like 3:35 or something. If it's only a little bit quicker, you can get that initial drone damage. That's awesome. If you then follow it up with a very powerful push with maybe a War Prism and a Immortal, a couple Gateway units, you can get something done. I always think the big downside of this is that if it does get scouted, and obviously it will eventually, or at least Lambo is going to know something is wrong, then you lose your Stargate, and that opens the door for Mutalisk, and that also is one thing I really hate about this build.
I understand that. That's a pretty good scout from Lambo. Could have been a little bit faster, but seeing it, I mean, he could not have seen it fast enough to cancel it. So at least finding it fast enough to get your queen in position and build a square crawler a bit faster. The things that you really need to do. And then, yeah, I think you would still want to go ahead and cancel any further options for building a Phoenix or Oracles. But may need to wait for speed for that to actually happen. Gerald has sent his soccer out to take care of this, while his Adept stays at home. I mean, the Oracle is supposed to get the next scout anyways, and it will. I mean, I'll get in the main, but not for long. I won't see very much.
No, and this is really unfortunate for Gerald, because obviously what you're hoping for is that Oracle to show up before that Spore Crawler is done, but because Lambo scouted, it gets the Stalker kill as well. What an absolutely amazing way to start a series. Can he deny the second Oracle from coming out? It's so close. Oh my god, it does barely pop. So that's nice, at least for Gerald, that he now has 2 Oracles out, but safe to say a pretty bad start. 0 damage done in the main base, lost the recall, lost the Stalker, loses a pylon, perhaps a little earlier than he expected to lose that pylon as well, because he's supply block. Not the start you're looking for, Zombie Grub.
No, it is not. I mean, on the other hand, as far as the Stargate openers go, you don't usually get too much more than this. You know, perhaps a Phoenix, you had to take care of some Overlords, but, or maybe you're one of the new players wants to go for a Void Ray, but you know, otherwise, the 2 Oracles at least popping out is, I don't think that's terrible. What would have been more terrible is if an Overlord had actually seen the follow-up, which it did not, but it did see a missing 4th gas.
Yeah, we already see the Roach Run go down. I think at this point, Lambo is always expecting at least some sort of an aggression, because we all know that every Protoss wants to keep Zerg in check, and you want to get at least either some damage done, or you want to force units out. So it's unlikely that Gerald from this point is like, oh, well, I lost the Stargate, I'm going to sit back, not do anything forever. I'm definitely not feeling this start, and I don't think that Gerald is very pleased with it either, especially because he was also supply blocked for a solid 10 seconds. And pro production obviously very important here, like already being down 9 workers. Not feeling too good about this one.
That is a pretty bad place to be. Yeah, Mules, maybe it's not that bad, but that's not just matchup works. Yeah, this is it's putting a lot of hopes on the Adept doing something, but unfortunately, because this isn't like, you know, the faster Adept attacks, it's not even necessarily that you're doing damage just by hanging around, right? Like Lambo is already going to be pretty comfortable on 64 drones, 4 bases, maybe more later on, but you don't stall them out, get them afraid of the adepts, and keep them on 50 drones, which can happen in some earlier attacks. Well, actually, I take that back. Lambo actually canceled his 4th, took this very seriously.
Yeah, I do understand that because he didn't even really have that the bases connected by creep, and I don't think you want to expose your queens right now because he went a little crazy on the drone production. I thought he would start building units at 55 or 60, but he went up to 65, and that means that the roaches are a little bit later. But Lambo is pretty good in buying time, and that's just kind of what he needs to do right now. Maneuver these drones around a little bit. Every second that goes by, more and more roaches pop out, and I still think that Lambo is going to be more than fine. Look at the amount of roaches we've got in the natural there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw 13 roaches being produced, and I was like, well, it should be enough. But you're right, they were a little bit late, and Lambo didn't want to just, not take this seriously and end up losing 10 drones in a very foolish way, so he can build a spine crawler. So when the adepts are done, let's say that they maybe get a couple of queens and like 6 drones, or maybe not even that, like, I mean, whether they're dead or not, like that is a lot of army to now be afraid of for Gerald's side of things. And while Gerald is going into double robo, making sure he has a counter to a roach flood potential, we're not got anything to worry about. It's the Spire that's on the way, and Gerald's, I don't think he's gonna have a pre-Spire push. And is he actually gonna be able to scout it too? It is in the main.
The thing is, if you want to make the pre-spire push, that always sounds great, but then you have to step on creep and you can get swarmed by roaches, zerglings, and ravages, right? So that's just in general not something you really want to do. You want to play it a bit more passive than that. These oracles taking a lot of damage. That's not going to help Gerald scouting the Spire, by the way. It's less and less likely that he's going to fly them into the main base at this point when they this boost already. I mean, it was a decent attempt. But even with how greedy Lambo was, the start was so good that Lambo could justify everything that he was doing. Got away with it. Could have even saved that queen, by the way, that went down because he did have energy on his queens to transfuse. Was a little late on that, but other than that, I think it's a pretty perfect game so far for Lambo.
Oh man, robotic space coming down. I mean, going into Blink Colossus is not abnormal. It just there's not going to be really a lot of preparation for the Spire, which is now done. Lambo doesn't see anything trying to push into him. In fact, there's a 4th base on the way, which he does scouts. I think he's an overlord of the main too, so his scouting's really quite good. And he could go for a Spire, actually build those mutas, sorry, or actually hold off on it. So we have just enough minerals for a few. That's actually his problem right now. But at 74 workers and his 4th base now finally being done, he won't have a mineral problem for too much longer.
Nope, it's much better to have a mineral problem when you have this economy than a gas problem, because the gas takes a little bit longer, but if you're mining 2,700 minerals a minute, that's going to be plenty of mutas. It starts off with 3 or 4. Before we know it, it's like 10, 11, and if Lambo really wants, he can get 20 plus up mutas in no time. Zorking's being annoying as well near these robos, catching a couple of the stalkers, at least one of them. That's nice as well, because that's going to reduce the NTR. But Gerald has still absolutely no idea about mutas. I feel this is about the time that he's like, wait a minute. If he was actually building roaches and links, this should be way harder for me. Like, I should be scrambling to stay alive, but all of this is quite easy. And when you can tell yourself that it's easy, you already know something else is happening. That is the Mutalist. The Warp Prism is going to siege on top of the Sport Crawler and the Queen, so that one will go down as well. And even though economically it doesn't look that bad for Gerald, I feel this is a pretty disastrous game.
He's going to have to hold against both roaches and mutas now that he's spread himself out in 4 bases. That is going to be tough to do. And while he does have some static defense, I think there was that in his mind, like, oh, he could do like a random muta switch. I'm not sure he's anticipating this many mutas as the first couple mutas, right? Like, ideally it's 9, and then maybe you can handle it, but it's already at 22. Plus the roaches are returning to the 4th base, finding a couple stalkers that he does need to defend against those mutas. And then maybe Lambo was thinking about taking the engagement. He decides, okay, not now. But now he just gets to tear the Protoss apart.
I actually think it wouldn't have been a bad fight. Like, he's got 20 plus mutas against 12 stalkers. Now, obviously, Gerald did wipe in a couple of additional stalkers, but now his robotics facility units are very exposed. So the Colossus go down. All the barriers have been activated on these Immortals. Lambo has to be a little bit careful here because this does seem a bit reckless. But for instance, going into the main base should give him a lot of value out of these mutas.
Stalkers, I mean, the number's not bad, but the muta numbers, they could have, they could always evacuate. They don't even have to take this fight, even though maybe they could. 27 now as 8 more continue to be made. That's going to be a lot of mutas. And, I mean, if he wanted to play with Blink Stalkers this entire game, eventually would turn into an all-in, so he is going to try and go into the Stargates, but it seems so late to do that. The shield battery is going to go down here. More stalkers going down that he really can't afford to lose. Even though Gerald has 4 bases, he's just continuing to bleed out supply.
I gotta say, Lambo is missing a couple of opportunities. Like, he can really fight these stalkers. He could have already fought them in the 4th base. Now he's gonna fight them in the main, and that is the correct choice. It is so hard as a Protoss to defend against this many Mutalisks when all you're working with is a couple of Blink Stalkers. Somewhere you're going to be weak, whether it's the main, the 3rd, the 4th. Somewhere you're not going to have enough NTR. In this case, that seems to be the main. At the same time, the Colossus is in trouble as well against these Mutas. Jeez Louise, we've got like 34 Mutas on the map. And that is going to do it for Lambo. GG gets called. Now, Jazz, I said in the beginning of the game, the proxy Stargate is cool and all, but one of the biggest weaknesses of the proxy Stargate is that you lose power to the Stargate and often end up losing the Stargate, and it opens the doors for Muta. Now, of course, Oracles could have maybe flown in the main, could have dropped the Revelation, and then it's a slightly different game. But this happens more often than not, and this is why you don't see the proxy Stargate very often.
Yeah. Even with the Stargate being available, it was going to be tough holding just because he really didn't scout it. Like, Lambo could have done the 7 Mutas and then sent them in just to do some light harassment and moved on with his life. And that would have been, you know, kind of a normal thing to have happened. But Lambo, I think, with the Stargate being denied and the lack of pressure from Gerald, was just like, well, I'm just going to actually go mass Muta, and you're not going to punish me for it, which he was absolutely right about that. And it really sucks for Gerald is that, I mean, I think he could have thought of producing a hallucination to try and get some scouting. We do typically see that double hallucination. His build didn't really allow room for any sentries, actually. When the depths were being made and they're attacking and the immortals were being made, he had no sentries. And I don't think he actually had any sentries in this game, like, as far as I saw. So no chance to get that kind of freebie scouting and no chance to prepare against the Mutas. A harsh game to try and come back from.
And great decision by Lambo to actually go for the mass Muta here, because indeed, like you said, he could have gone for the, let's make 7, 8 Mutas, grab a couple probes, force out a couple cannons, and then go back into Roachling Ravager. But at that point, he would have made it a bit harder on himself, because the double robo is already up and rolling. And since Gerald does have at least some Blink Stalkers available and a battery here and there, a cannon, it would have probably gave Gerald a real fighting shot in this game. But against 25 Mutas with Blink Stalkers, it's possible, sure, if you're actually ahead in the game, you've got vision everywhere. I love that he tagged the Mutas twice with the Oracle, like that was a cute play. But then he ended up losing both Oracles, because at one point it just feels you're being hit from every single angle. There are Zerglings, there are Roaches, there are Ravagers, and then you've got the ridiculous Muta flock flying around. It is so difficult to deal with if the Mutas are in those numbers and you just don't have enough NTR.
And speaking of the lack of gas for sentries, he certainly was lacking gas to try and add on a bunch of Archons, which, you know, maybe if you can get 2 or 3 Archons and stick them in the 3rd and 4th, you worry less about the Mutas. You can use your Stalkers a bit more, with a lot more flexibility, right? But he actually couldn't defend any one place without a bit of guesswork, basically. Like, am I defending against the Roaches or am I defending against the Mutas? So it was going to be a brutal game. The lack of scouting was a bit of that problem, most of the problem, really. But now Geralt, I would say, is going to be 100% on scouting this fire. There are still some other problems that he still has to consider. I mean, Lambo did everything pretty correctly in that game. It's just that the Mutas were the easy answer to a victory.
And it all starts with that great initial Zergling scout. I mean, some Zerg players, they get a little lazy with their Zerglings in the beginning of the game. But if Lambo doesn't scout that Stargate as quickly as he does, then his Spore Crawl is probably a couple seconds late. Maybe that Oracle does show up in the main base, grabs 4 or 5 drones, and don't want to be too dramatic, but I do think we have a very, very different game. And obviously everything would play out in a different manner. Anyways, we got to move on. Map 2 is Everdream, a very popular map for the adepts, so we may see some of that. In the top right side, look at the main base of the man who made it to the global finals in 2018, and he wants to get back to that level. It is Lambo.
In the bottom left, there's the red Protoss for Team Exxon. He is Geralt.
It is a bit predictable to go for Resonating Glaives at depths here, but I still feel whenever I see it and it's properly executed, I feel like worst case scenario, Protoss and Zerg are even. Like, I don't know what it is about this map, but the build seems really good here.
I was going to ask you, is that like just too obvious to do that? But that is like a lot of the power why it stuck for as long as it did, if we consider that we first started to see it back around Katowice, and obviously in Katowice it took out Serral. That's, you know, what, 7 months now? So it's stuck around for a while. It still is definitely useful. And while it's been mostly figured out, you know, as soon as you figure it is actually the Resonant Glaives, there is a proper response from Zergs that they've all, you know, agreed on, it feels like. The power of it is that it doesn't necessarily have to do that damage. You don't have to sacrifice your adepts to kill a bunch of drones, because the response to the attack itself is already fairly extreme. Like, they have to take it seriously, even if you don't end up building more adepts or actually shading the adepts in.
Absolutely. I feel like the most popular one is the what they call the Dong Regu response, right? Like you defend the first shade with a lot of Zerglings, and after that you go into Roaches, and then we often see a Spinecrawler at the third base as well for the Zerg. But like you said, all of that is already a proper investment. So even if you don't get the 12 drones that obviously you're hoping for, it's not that bad, because Zerg can't really run to the other side of the map because there is still that Warp Prism they have to worry about as well. But it doesn't matter, Jess, because we are not going to see that. We're actually just going to see a Stargate opening on Everdream. Not the standard, but hey, maybe this is just what Gerald loves, and he's like, at least I'll have a Stargate in case he goes mute us again.
That's got to be a fear now. It was such a brutal game. But it's also just, it feels like it is... of the Protosses who are using, you know, the newfound Void Ray, it does feel like some of these up-and-coming Protosses are using it much more. I'm going to be biased because I just witnessed Goblin and Gerald actually fight each other, and there's also Max Pax who's always in those open cups doing weird things. But yeah, it just feels like they've gone back into preferring the Stargate for, you know, multiple reasons, not just because we could see a Void Ray thing happen. But Oracle it is, and we'll see what pops out after that. Lambo would know about this. He saw that later Warp Gates. So he just needs, we're just waiting on the Spore Crawlers and see if this Oracle can actually do anything. I do love that he's still scouting. You know, like, you can't know if that's in the main base or not.
Yeah, exactly. And last game, obviously, got a key scout off. You know what the patch definitely has achieved is now when people talk about Void Rays, I tend to smile a little bit. And in the old days, I was just facepalming. I was like, such a useless unit. And now Void Rays became fun. Void Rays became exciting. I'm still not sure if I'm really 100% on board of how good they truly are in every scenario, but they are just so much more fun and versatile, and it's not that bad to have a Void Ray. In the old days, you didn't want to make a Void Ray, even if you're getting all in. You're like, I'd rather make an Oracle, because at least I can get additional value out of the Oracle. Right now, Void Rays are just cool, man. They went through a metamorphosis, and everybody loves the Void Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate seeing the Void Ray as an option. For sure. That this option for Gerald is going to be triple Oracle this game. Maybe you'll see Void Rays later on. The two Oracles decide to jump on top of two Queens, and they are allowed to do that with the Spore Crawler being done. I gotta be a little careful to micro, which Gerald is. Not just a Queen, but also maybe 3 drones, 4, 5.
Wow.
Pretty nice.
Yeah, what a start for Gerald. No! Wait, what? What's happening? Okay, I got really scared that the Oracle flew back or something, because I just saw the Queen attacking. I was like, what is the Queen shooting at? Don't lose that Oracle now, Gerald. I actually felt that maybe he should have gone for both Queens at first, because after he killed the first one, I was like, that second one is a guaranteed kill as well. But then he got 5 drones, and I'm like, well, that doesn't even matter. But Gerald is back. He once more saves the Oracle as well. Oh my goodness, Gerald is a brand new man here in game 2. Some fantastic stuff coming out of his Oracle control here.
Yeah, excellent job. Lambo does save at least a couple of his Queens with some backup from the main, but yeah, you're not supposed to lose that much. 4 Oracles, 5 Oracles. How many Oracles gonna get to?
He's never gonna stop. Gerald's going full Haas. He's like, I'm getting inspired by DreamHack Masters, Taiwan, and yeah, that's the region, right?
Yeah.
Not Oceania, but the other one, guys. Taiwan, Macau, Hong Kong. That one. He's like, I see those boys make a lot of Oracles. I want to make a lot of Oracles as well. And this is actually becoming very problematic for Lambo. He's got 5 Queens, but 5 Queens really don't stand a chance against 5 Oracles, especially not if there are Adepts there to be annoying as well. Lambo needs to be near a Spore Crawler, or he's in all sorts of trouble.
I mean, who does this? This is so awkward. It's so odd. You know, the idea of Oracles plus Adepts makes sense, but this timing, how many Oracles there are, is pretty insane. He's not fighting in that Spore Crawler, and he might even be able to... Yeah, I mean, the one with energy, the one with Transfuse actually went down, so he could even transfuse his Queens. And this is already some seriously sick damage as the Adepts transfer into the main base. They're going to find maybe not that many drones, but a lot of lost mining time. So far, 2 Oracles have died. Not quite grabbing that last Queen, but the Adepts might get it. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, that could have been a bit cleaner there. I think that one additional Oracle didn't have to go down, but the Adepts is still doing some pretty decent damage, and we still have 3 Oracles out on the map, and at this point, there is no anti-air for Lambo at all. Absolutely zero. We've got a couple Sport Crawlers, but that's it. Nothing that can actually run around and shoot at those Oracles. The Adepts are still going to town in drones in the main base. 12 drones, a whole bunch of Queens, and I think this Fort Hatchery is a sitting duck.
I mean, Gerald doesn't have a lot behind this. You know, he had to make all those adepts, or he did just sacrifice. So, like, this is the time to be worried, all right, with the army supply. Does Lambo have too much? I don't think so. Only 7 above? Yeah, that's not a whole lot. But Gerald did delay his robot production, his blink, and his +1. There might be some time for Lambo to breathe, but I guess not if the Oracles have anything to say about it. Oh, it doesn't quite do that Oracle.
Yeah, that's a good pickup there for Lambo, because 2 Oracles is a whole lot less scary than 3 Oracles. They still found a couple of additional drones, but Lambo has done a really good job in redroning behind all of this, and immediately slaps down the Infestation Pit and the Lurker then. I don't know if this was Lambo's plan all along, but maybe considering how this game has played out so far, he's like, this is just my best choice, because any sort of Roach Ravager attack is just not going to get it done. It's going to hit way too late with the amount of damage I've been taking. So he's going into Lurkers, and I'm kind of excited to see how this one plays out.
I'm not sure he can get to Lurkers, man. Like, I think Geralt, while he did delay all those things I mentioned, I mean, he could still try and at least poke and prod with +1 and blink, and his gateways are kind of finishing up at the right time as well. To actually fit in Lurkers right now when he has 0 Hydras out in the field. But Geralt doesn't quite know that. I hope he does the push. Okay, he is going to do the push.
Yeah.
As I said, at least poke and see what's going on.
Well, I was going to wipe in a few more Stalkers. Second Robo is on the way. I think you're right, Jess. I got a little excited about the Lurkers, but Gerald is making the correct calls here. And he's like, hey, no Zerglings, no Banelings.
Wow.
No Ravager count as well. A forward blink just to assert the dominance. More drones are going to go down, and Gerald is just having an excellent game too.
That was maybe an aggressive blink. Too aggressive blink forward there. Especially since his Immortals kind of got started shooting the drones. But I think it is... I mean, at worst, it's like a fair trade. You're getting a 4th base behind this, and a 2nd Robo is being set up. Now we have a Disruptor in the mix, and obviously denying all of the mining on the 4th base. Lambo might be able to hold, maybe, but it won't be a pretty hold.
Things I don't say very often, but this was a bad game to be a queen. 12 queens have gone down in a 9-minute game. Those are some pretty respectable numbers. The Roach count is dwindling. No, don't shoot at the rocks, Gerald. What are we doing over there, mate? Shoot at the Roaches. Okay, Gerald is making this a bit clumsy. A bit harder on himself than it had to be, but I still think all of that was good. More queens went down, 15 additional drones went down, and making Lurkers, you know, when you're like sort of scrambling and under pressure is hard. Making Lurkers of 66 drones is even harder.
Yeah, he did have to pull those drones, so it's still a decent amount to saturate 4 bases as the main gets mined out, but you know, it should be hard. It's supposed to be hard. He's supposed to maybe get 4 Lurkers, and yeah, apparently they are going to get their range upgrade, but getting to the speed burrow and getting enough Lurkers to cover each other, that is going to be difficult. Meanwhile, Geralt has this very mobile army that he doesn't have to bring his Immortals or his Disruptors forward right now. He can just play around with the Stalkers. I am a little worried this is the beginning of Lambo's comeback, though. He's apparently getting to Lurkers and Vipers.
I mean, Gerald, we're at 81 probes, mate. Like, I'd love to see him just get a little more adventurous. If you have Disruptors, you kind of just always want to fire those Novas. I'm not saying you need to take a game-deciding fight, but at least be sharking around, fire those Novas forward. If you connect with something awesome, if you miss, at least you're stressing out your opponent and putting more pressure on them. I don't want to see Gerald sit at home for the next 2 minutes, because then we do get the adaptive talents as well as Lurker range is already done, like we said. Vipers are in the mix. I think they're leeching energy at this point somewhere. Like, we don't have to get there, so I'd love to see Gerald just go pedal to the metal, and let's try to close this one out.
Classic dynamic is 2 Disruptor shots on top of the Lurker, but with Burrow speed finishing up apparently too, does not want to engage in that.
Slow Zealots in the main!
Charge isn't quite done. Roaches respond pretty easily. This is not the damage or the distraction I think that Geralt was really looking for, but I still think he might be able to push that front. I mean, he's got to at least try and do something with the Disruptors, but I don't think he's not going to even try. It's now with speed finishing, the Burrow speed finishing, it's going to be easy for Lambo to micro out and even on top of Geralt if Geralt oversteps. Zealots actually did finally start doing some damage, but once again, going to be cleaned up.
I mean, there's just so little anti-air for Lambo. That's actually really hard to take care of prisms as well. Didn't manage to take care of that prism yet. It's still just flying around. Lambo knows about it. Gerald is getting storm now too. I'm with you. I don't like it. I really felt that Gerald was doing perfectly fine in the center. It was a bit silly when he started shooting at those rocks because I think at that point he actually had the army to just win the fight against the roaches. Now all of a sudden we're looking at a 4-base Lambo who does have Vipers and Lurkers have both upgrades. I mean, did we really need to get here?
Well, now it's that classic tough to beat Zerg army. I mean, it might not have a bank behind it, you know, that we usually see, but it has everything, spellcasters and lurker numbers to actually start winning fights. Feedbacks are good to the Vipers, but not. The Duck still goes down. The Vipers will have to go back, so the Colossus can try and do something, but even already using 3 of his disruptor shots on only 1 lurker was not a great start for this. His stalkers, by the way, are not back at home because they're actually at the top of the 4th.
Sorry.
Oh my god, the High Templars get taken out. I think he recalled the stalkers. He wasn't paying attention to his main army.
Oh my goodness. I was taking a look at the main fight and 7 or 8 High Templars just went down for really not much. They were just standing in range of the lurkers. Storm is done now, but wasn't done before. Gerald is really making this a scrappy fight. I think he does have at least barely enough to survive. He needs to save the Colossus, ends up losing that one as well. Shield battery is going to keep the other one alive for now, but oh my goodness. 4 High Templars went down and 2 of them were in the front and morphed into an Archon. That one went down immediately as well. Oh, what a game this is. We've got a mothership on the way now. He does have the extra Stargates, the Fleet Beacon, of course, because he's building the mothership. Wow, how did we get here, Zombie Grub?
Siege units, man. The comeback unit. Everyone respects him, everyone's scared of him. Unfortunately, Gerald, I think maybe was just paying too much attention to Blink Stalker Micro. I mean, understandably, he was probably like, oh, when I'll Lambo has to respond to me. But at some point, he lost track of the army, and it had not appeared, and it suddenly surprised him, and that really messed things up because he still had to save his stalkers. There was too many stalkers to just give away, but in the process lost so many expensive units. And while he did clean it up and he still comes out a bit ahead, he's got more workers, he's got that big base up and running. Lurker Viper is just a terrifying composition, especially when you're rebuilding all those high gas units, the Colossus, Disruptors, the High Templars, so many of them went down.
I almost feel like that's the biggest problem, right? If he's sitting on 5 Disruptors here, I'm not even that worried. It's like, okay, you might lose 1 or 2 against some Ducks, but after that, you're going to be fine. A Blinding Cloud being used as well by Lambo. That's a lot of Lurkers for Gerald to run into. He's still going to try. The Zealots are surviving, but a lot of the High Templars are starting to run very low on HP. The Storms were massive, but I think in the end, this was a pretty decent fight for Lambo. Even though he lost all of his Lurkers, he once again took care of the majority of the important units of Gerald, and this is really becoming very problematic for Gerald.
Yeah, you know, I feel like Gerald also could have waited for, not the Tempest necessarily, but that one Disruptor might have been able to help it a little bit more. But now Lambo's overstaying his welcome. He might not be up against very expensive high-tech units, only a single Archon and a Disruptor, but the reinforcements just a little bit too good against what was, you know, base-level roaches. So Gerald, I still think, is winning. Lambo put a lot into that. He remade a lurker army that was already expensive for him on 4 bases, and then he lost that one too. And it's not like, you know, if he was expanding behind this and went up back to 75, 80 workers, it'd be like, oh, well, let's see how it goes. But that was almost like, you could even say that was almost all in. And while he got the army, he didn't get a base or any probes. Not really.
There's still that 20 worker advantage for Gerald, and obviously 5 base against 4 is an excellent place to be in. And Gerald did buy a lot of time for himself right now. Lambo might have another go in him, but that's going to hit late, and then at that point he's going to have to worry about Zealot one-buys again as well. That got super close though. I was really terrified for Gerald when he started to run into all the lurkers. I'm like, oh, does he have enough? And barely sort of did, even though he didn't get all of them. He got through the ones that were in the dangerous positions, and his army is starting to look a lot better again.
It's scary because if Lambo had 3 more lurkers that were all spread out and they were like kind of like on the high ground or a little behind the revelation, suddenly Gerald's like, you know, estimation is a little off, and it does snowball maybe the other way around. But now Lambo needs to buy some time. He's finally getting his 5th base up, but it's not quite done yet. His army isn't immobile. Like, he can actually try and push and pull a little bit, as we see here. But Gerald's, oh, well, I think he's gonna pick up on this and start splitting his army a little bit better.
Yeah, great army movement by Lambo though. He's definitely getting a lot of value out of not much, right? Because he was stuck on those 66 drones, the 4 bases, felt like he was running out of steam. He's in a great way right now. Wow. Is that esports history? Gerald missed the revelation. I mean, I have said that we need to give Protoss players more props to nail those revelations, okay? It's not easy, but, you know, they managed to get the job done more often than not. Gerald just missed one.
It's not fair. The army moved, right?
Yeah, I mean, can we increase the range of revelation?
This is once again him losing track of the army, or is he? I mean, he doesn't know the army's in the middle of the map or off to the right side. So, speaking of revelations not being that great, he's once again a bit blindsided. Gonna have to cancel his 6th base, was it again? And oh, well, he's also losing his 4th. So this is a bit more problematic. But Lambo's also got half his army away from his main fight. Disruptor shots are beautiful, also helping take out those lurkers. He's gonna lose a couple. I think Lambo was focused fire in there, but Lambo wants to do more damage on that left side. He's trying to break through some gateways. It's going to take a little while. Stalkers are surprisingly on the other side of the map, trying to kill his 3rd base. I don't know how, but they did it. There you go. And now a single disruptor kills a bunch of eggs. What?
I don't know about this interaction. The 5 Stalker hit squad just took down an entire base.
A 2nd disruptor's there.
Blows up a bunch of Hydras. I mean, this game just got real wild. Disruptors are going to get picked up in the end, but Stalker's getting the hatchery is obviously fantastic, Niels. There are 23 Hydras out on the map at this point, but there's still 7 High Templars. Good abducts on the Disruptors. Well done by Lambo, but there's still a lot of storms he has to worry about.
Ooh, a couple of those storms are pretty juicy. Loses the mothership and is now only down to 1 Disruptor after the abducts, plus the random ones that were every which way. At least finally, Gerald has cleaned up all harassment. So he lost a 4th base, but he still has his 5th, which is, you know, has better mining. And he is getting his 6th back up, so it's still not bad for him. But Lambo, while he was struggling to get from 4 to 5 bases, is now on his way to a 6th and a 7th. Although I don't think his army is actually quite up to snuff. Like, when they actually match up against each other, can Lambo's army win?
Yeah, I had the feeling about this before already, where I thought, like, come on, Gerald, just F2A move to the other side of the map. Maybe just try to get this one over with. At least gets a kill on that hatchery on the right side. Is going to recall a couple of units towards the bottom as well. So you can start picking up these roaches and hydras. I mean, Lambo really is doing a fantastic job in just A, staying alive, and B, making sure that this game goes on and on. He's actually the one with the worker advantage now. Army-wise, I'm not really feeling it for Lambo yet, but hey, as long as he's alive, he can get more lurkers and vipers out, then anything truly is possible.
Dude, the income graph is kind of insane. I knew Gerald was ahead in economy, but I didn't realize for how long and how much. Yeah, he should be winning this game. But Lambo is doing an excellent job with few units, always buying more time. And I mean, he can't really perfect his army. The Spire, I think, was at his 3rd, did finish, but he can't really afford to make a bunch of Corruptors right now. I mean, if he can get kind of lucky with the ducks, you know, find some really good pulls there, and still, you know, he can still do it. But now, finally, we might have that main engagement. The one that Gerald's not going to back away from. Yeah. Take the engagement.
Careful with the High Templars though, I do get a little scared when I see all of those just trailing in the back. Couple of Zealots did manage to pick off 5 drones on the right side. And actually pick up the Spire there as well, so that's a nice little catch for these Zealots. Lurkers getting in range of the High Templars. Oh, not getting the shots off, and Disruptors are actually the one keeping the High Templars alive there. Now more drones are going down, and Lambo obviously realized that this is becoming a very desperate situation. But how do you engage an army of 7 High Templars and multiple Disruptors?
I don't know how you do that. And the abducts, while they happen, they kind of just brought the army with the army, so I don't think they really helped out that much. All the drones are dead. Lambo is scrambling to get an army that can actually keep this. Well, the arm supply doesn't look that bad. Positioning doesn't really work out against the type of army Gerald has. GG, as Gerald takes his point on the board. And they're all tied up 1-1. Nice game from both parties.
Yeah, an excellent game. I finally feel like we can sit and watch the game of StarCraft 2, Zombie Grub. It took us a couple tries. An entire first best of 5 wasn't really it. Game 1 felt a little one-sided as well. But this was a proper scrap between 2 excellent European players. Obviously, Gerald had a fantastic start. Loved the 5 Oracle start as well. Got 12 Queens 9 minutes into the game. Like, that's insane damage. And, well, perhaps struggled a little bit closing it out. But a great victory for him regardless.
Absolutely. So series all tied up. We're going to be heading into game 3 right after this break. game number 3 coming up on Eternal Empire. Gerald just showed a fantastic start to last game, which really made up for his first game. And we got to see what Gerald can actually do. Lambo, despite being into a pretty poor position, ended up showing us what he can do in late game with those lurkers. I actually thought that was a very good showcasing from both. Maybe now, game 3, we get to see them all both start off level playing field and maybe get that super late game air toss that I think we're both kind of hoping for. I want to see it. I want to see Gerald use it.
Yeah, I'd love to see some carriers. We got to see some Tempest, but I feel like the Tempest really didn't have much of an impact that game. It was a lot more about the spellcasters, but I think this man doesn't have too much to worry about. He was in an absolutely atrocious position, and he still turned it into a game, and he's going to spice things up, apparently, with the 12 pull. Top right side of Eternal Empire, our German Zerg player, it is Lambo.
So much for a level playing field. It's going to get spicy one way or another. In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, he is Gerald. I mean,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Doesn't have to really commit that much, but I feel like something's got to be done. And if Gerald doesn't send out a probe scout soon, I'm going to be a little worried.
I'm already a little bit worried because I feel Lambo is not the kind of player that 12 pulls very often unless he has a very good reason to do so. So I can only imagine that Lambo has done some study, some prep, and he just knows something about Gerald's scouting pattern or the lack of scouting on Eternal Empire perhaps in particular, because Lambo doesn't 12 pull very often. So if he does it for a reason. This is not him just kind of like, oh, let's just see what happens. And this is probably going to get rough. I gotta say the Zerglings are taking a very awkward route in case maybe there was a probe. Maybe he's gonna try to avoid the probe that gets sent out very late. Like this, honestly, this is prepared. 100%. Gerald is gonna take control of the Zelda Watchtower. Now he sends the probe into the direction of the Zergling, so at least he gets the heads up. But this is still going to be a bit difficult. I mean, the Zealot only now gets started. It's going to chrono boost out the Zealot immediately. I don't think he can really protect this pylon, though. He's going to have to pull a lot of probes, and a lot of probes are making their way to the low ground. Here we go.
Yeah, but that is the important thing about getting any type of heads up on this. Usually we're talking about pylon scouts or gateway scouts. This was have an X-Core scout. And it still is just barely enough time for him to pull the probes. The Zealot pops out. Probes are trying to be micro to lose as few as possible, but a few have to be killed. It's just a guarantee. 4 go down. And a couple more lings join up. A few more probes could fall as well.
Yep. I mean that adept is only halfway done, and 2 more Zerglings are about to show up. I think Lambo just wants to trade at this point, and this is going to be a good trade. I mean, if Lambo gets 1 or 2 more probes here, this is a victory, and he's going to get more than that. 2 probes go down. The Zealot goes down as well. Now the adept has to make a choice. Do you stay on the low ground, protect your pylon, or do you go into the main base to protect those probes as well? This wasn't that bad, but I still think 6 probes is more than enough for Lambo.
I don't know if he did that or that was a little bit coincidental, because I think he tried to do it, but it didn't quite work. But sending out that weak probe into the gas geyser and it actually working was, I don't get to see it that often. That was pretty sick. So, yeah, but still, 6 probes going down. Not 7, but still, 6 is a big deal. This was, as you said, probably prepared. I mean, knowing that Gerald maybe doesn't scout that often in Eternal Empire, it did more damage than I guess Gerald would like, but at least it didn't end the game. So I think if you get the no scout on it and it kills the pylon, that's when we talk about kind of those weird, awkward 5-minute games. Well, 3-minute games, actually.
Look at Lambo. He's making more Zerglings now. Maybe that's just to deal with the 2 adepts that are heading his way, but there's a happy Zergling in the main base of Gerald as well, so Lambo gets the perfect scout on the Stargate, and even this stuff is very annoying to deal with. You're gonna have to pull probes a couple of times. You lose even more mining time. I mean, if Gerald had a build prepared, obviously all timings are completely out of the window at this point, and I don't think he's gonna get much done with the 2 adepts on the other side of the map because of all the additional Zerglings that Lambo made. Now, Lambo's speed is very late, but he has so many Zerglings, by the way. That's so many slow Zerglings.
Yep. Yeah, I made 10. I actually think that might have been a bit of a overreaction. I mean, it's tough, right? Because the 2 adepts coming across the map can either do the damage if you under-defend, or you over-defend and kind of do damage to yourself a little bit. And that might be the case here, but no, then the adepts didn't actually get into the main. So tough choice to make for Lambo, but at the end of the day, with all those lings that he did make to take care of this, he is only at even with Gerald, as Gerald slaps down one of the faster thirds you can really get as a Protoss. And unless Lambo has a follow-up attack, which with that speed being so late, I don't think he really does. I don't know, maybe this game isn't really as bad as I felt it was for Gerald.
Yeah, I'm with you now. I actually love that response of Gerald to just rush up to 3 bases, knowing that after 12 pool, it's very likely that Lambo is not going to have very quick Zergling speed as a follow-up, because obviously Zergs need to economically recover from the damage they do to their own economy when they 12 pool. So they like to delay their gas mining and building that extractor. This is actually something that normally you don't want to do, but now you can get away with. And he even did this before he built one of the Stargate units, just being so sure that he would be safe here. I love that call by Gerald. I think it's an excellent call. And if he was behind, he definitely isn't that far behind anymore.
Very nice game plan here. Making the best out of an awkward scenario. Going into a second Stargate, by the way. So that's something that Lambo would love to see, but I don't see any Overlords around. It's going to be late to the knowledge there.
Yep, that one Overlord that was chilling in the natural, that kept track of units moving in and out of the natural, just got picked off by the Stalker when that Oracle was providing high ground vision. So this is actually excellent. There's a good chance that Lambo is just expecting some sort of a gateway follow-up. Maybe once again, just a lot of Oracle production out of a single Stargate with a couple of Adepts. But that is not happening. So if Lambo would decide to make a whole bunch of Roaches, he's going to be a bit sad about it, but he's not doing that. It feels like he just knows. Like, honestly, it feels that Lambo has a great read on Gerald, because this is what I would love to see a Zerg do if they're knowing they're playing against double Stargate.
Yeah, I've noticed this last game, and I didn't get to mention other things happened, but he did also add on that +1 melee. And I was like, okay, we'll see what he can do. Didn't end up going into Banelings. We usually talk about that +1 melee, going into +2, and all that good stuff. But yeah, +1 melee, potential for a lot of Lings. Could be great against a double Phoenix, but this also could be just like Lambo setting up for the later game. I mean, as it is, it means there's no one attacking each other. And, they kind of just goes on to the economy. The question, I guess, is can Gerald's Phoenix really do a lot of damage? How many Hydras can actually be pumped out before those Phoenix do something? And I think they were just scouted.
There's an Overseer that's going to fly into the main base as well, but the Phoenixes are about to reveal themselves. But look at that natural. That's a lot of Queens ready to high-five those Phoenixes in the face. And this is not a natural you really want to fly into with your Phoenix. Now it's 7 Hydras on the way. The proper economy already for Lambo to build Hydras off the 71 drones. I'm pretty worried. Gerald does have a whole bunch of Adepts on the ground now as well. So Lambo is actually going to make a couple of safety roaches too. This is going to get messy one way or the other. I don't know if Gerald can really get what he's looking for, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. The Ling, I think, scouted the Phoenix, so Lambo just taking absolutely no damage. Having the Queen's position was very nice, and then he was building some additional Spore Crawlers. Adepts should not be shading in, but I get the threatening aspects. Phoenix can't find anything to do on the 4th base. Drones quite there. He's actually going to take this fight. That's a lot of Queens.
Yeah, with the Oracle. Okay. The problem is if you lift this many Queens, you don't really have any damage in the air. So the only thing you really have here are the 2 Oracles. And I don't like that engagement at all, not one bit. Good job there by Lambo, saving the majority of his Queens. The Adepts did commit in the natural, but they now are also kind of stuck. I don't think they're going to get too much done. We have 4 drones going down so far. In the main, maybe 1 or 2 additional drones are about to fall. But this really wasn't it for Gerald. Like, I know right now he's up 7 workers, but that's not going to last very long. He needed more than he got. The Phoenix is going to fly over the Queens again. This is not the Phoenix play that my sweet Phoenix dreams are made of.
No, they aren't. Even losing that last Phoenix because he stuck around a little too long for that drone. This is not a fantastic start. I mean, not only not getting that Queen battle, but then it didn't really distract Gerald or Lambo that much, which maybe could have made the Adepts do twice as much damage, but instead only 8 drones. Is not that bad, as Lambo's already set up on 4 bases with a huge army. Gerald's trying to skyrocket up to Storm, but it's not even halfway done. Neither is Charge, neither is +1. 4th base was a dream. So I hope Lambo doesn't actually attack me. And this, I mean, is Lambo just not going to try to attack? I feel like he could have tried, but maybe you can't tell if they have Storm or not, right?
That was a very short-lived dream, right? I was like, how would I get up to 4 bases? Never mind. Like, you wake up in sweat. You're like, oh my God, I'll never dream about that again. That's for sure. Yeah, I think maybe Lambo was a bit worried that Storm was on there, and obviously there's some static defenses too, but I think Lambo is completely fine with a 4 against 3 base scenario when he's also mining of the rich Vespian gas. He knows that his army supply is about to skyrocket, that Baneling count is about to skyrocket. what does Gerald really have to counter that? It's just storms. That's it.
Right, yeah, he's not built for really good storms. Which right now, Lambo's army is rather vulnerable, but as he adds in banelings, here come a few now, it actually doesn't get, I mean, going to a choke is always going to make any army vulnerable to storms, but yeah, those banelings going to be looking for those connections, at least taking out the Zealots, more High Templars for more Archons being morphed in. Maybe Geralt with this choke can hold. He's got a shield battery, he's got overcharge. Lambo, oh, he's actually hitting High Templars already. A couple storms do go down, but then the rest are morphed into Archons. What, he's got like one more storm left?
Not even. I think that High Templar doesn't have storm. We're getting close to it. It will have storm in a couple of seconds. Yeah, that definitely wasn't the fight that Gerald was hoping for either. I am a bit surprised that Lambo didn't have a Zergling on the bottom side. Feels like he's just trying to deny this base from going up near the rich Vespian gas. But now there is another base going up that's actually close to finishing up already. And once the static defenses are up, maybe Gerald can pull off the hold. The problem is his army is just not that good against Hydras, right? Like, it's just the storms, but he doesn't have any storms anymore.
Yeah, and then, well, whatever storms he does has off to the right side. Oh, I love the block of the mineral line stick play right there. Absolutely fantastic. The overcharge with the Immortal's also working out well enough, I suppose. But here come the banelings. Nope, the save on the pile up as well, Gerald.
Oh my god. I mean, that had to crack a smile out of both players. The sickest potential save there by Gerald. The nicest SimCity, but those probes were super stuck. The Phoenixes do find a little bit of counter damage on the other side of the map. That was a beautiful, lovely interaction that I've rarely seen.
Yeah, I've never seen the, what was it, Cybernex core or something in the mineral line?
Gateway score, I don't know what it was.
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with all the workers killed, like that did hurt, but that did take also a lot of banelings, right? And the right side apparently didn't go that poorly for him, so the supplies didn't dip as much as they thought they would. Especially in the army supply didn't dip as much. So Geralt is on his way to stabilizing. He's already invested into Stargate production too, so his mothership's on the way. So he's actually farther along in tech than I would expect it as well. Once again, Choke's working very well in Eternal Empire. It is a macro map, and Geralt's trying to use that to the best of his ability, but Lambo also thinking about the future as 5 bases, 92 workers, and a greater spire on the way.
Like, I'd be feeling this for Gerald if Lambo was a mediocre Zerg who was stubborn and is like, I need to end the game, I'm Hydra-Link Bane, I need to do it, and just keep crashing into static defenses, upper ramp, into storms. Then I'd be like, wait a minute, this is actually going somewhere for Protoss. But since Lambo is incredibly rich and has been hitting his transitions, already has that great Aspire finishing up, I don't think it's going to be enough for Gerald, but I gotta say he's doing a really good job in weathering the initial storm.
A fantastic job. I thought he was going to die with that first push, to be honest. But we know Storm wasn't finished. Lambo did not. Yeah, I mean, his mothership's already the first step in the right direction. He does have 2 Stargates, so...
Wrong direction. Yes, wrong direction. It's always the wrong direction. It's a donation of 800 resources. Come on.
all right. But he could try and go into some Tempest once he figures out that there's a Great Aspire on the way, but that is one of the problems. He's got, like, no scouting done.
Yeah. I mean, motherships, memes aside, are obviously very good when you're facing Hydra-Link Bane, especially if you're sitting on High Templars. Makes it hard for Zerg to see how many High Templars there really are. But the thing is, Lambo already has Hive. Lambo's about to spot this mothership. Perfect timing on the Overseer. Can we take a look at the main base of Gerald? Like, hey, Overseer, hello, mothership. Like, that really couldn't have been any better. So I think that Lambo is going to free up a little bit of army supply and fire up a couple Vipers, and then I think he's going to be more than capable of dealing with this mothership.
Yes, the mothership, I think, is just now a big target. He's going to be abducted, but maybe it takes enough fire away from everything else. That's the hope. The 5th base is looking a little bit, yeah, another dream, actually. A couple Storms, Archons trying to buffer for the rest of the units, and all the Banelings are gone. And that's not all of Geralt's army, but it's such a good concave for the Zerg, right? Oh, actually, from the backside, I didn't know there was army coming from back there. Kind of a concave now going in Geralt's favor. Not a terrible hold at the end.
Ah, pretty sick hold, actually. I mean, that looked problematic at first, but once again, Gerald had a fantastic, or did a fantastic job in 3-unit positioning, and all of a sudden had Archons and Immortals coming in from every angle. Lambo needs to build a couple Vipers. That's really what I'd love to see. I know there are High Templars out and stuff, but I feel not getting any Vipers here is a massive missed opportunity. He's got the gas income to build them as well. So come on, Lambo, give me a couple Vipers.
be a mistake if he doesn't make them. I mean, right now he's building just a bajillion Banelings, so maybe that can take out all the ground army, and then there's only Tempest left over, but nothing much to directly deal with the air. Now going into Pathogen Glands, getting more upgrades. He wants to defend this base, but he also has a base off to the left. Banelings come in, Time Warp goes down, as well as some good storms, and that was a beautiful combination.
A very rare combination as well, right? We don't get to see that one very often. Well done by Gerald, who now finds the APM to have a little bit of a Zealot hit squad as well on the left side of the map, potentially take out a base of Lambo, who is getting Pathogen Glands, like you said, but why are we not getting Vipers? I don't understand why Lambo is making this so hard on himself. Because all of a sudden Gerald is now maxed out and he's the one sitting on the better army.
I don't know, actually. Like, I mean, obviously taking care of the High Templars in some way, and Banelings can be one of them, is often seen as a priority, but just two Vipers in appropriate positions too. Because you could argue, oh, feedback's better against them now, but usually you see at least one Abduct go off. I think is very, very worth it. Storms managed to take out the Banelings with the help of static defense, and Gerald is playing some spectacular late game. He's got the bigger mineral bank right now, but he just took down Lambo's right side base, and he has the ability to threaten the left side as well. I mean, Lambo just double expands, but this is good stuff.
Yeah, Gerald is channeling his inner Showtime over here, really living up to Dimao's name of being the wall. Lambo has now lost 8,000, well, 7,000 resources more than Gerald already. And sure, he's been mining more, but that's quite a few resources to lose more than your opponent. Hydras are on move command in the center of the map. I don't know what's happening. This game is getting a little scrappy at this point. I love how Gerald always leaves a lot of units at home. We definitely cannot accuse him of spamming F2 all the time, because he's got High Templars and like solid safe positions everywhere, always leaves units at home to defend his bases. And this army is so problematic right now for Lambo to deal with.
It's actually in his own base. This is looking a little scary. The storms hit true. There's not that many Banelings to begin with, and all the Banelings that are morphing get stormed to death. Oh my god. Even feedback in the Overseers, because why not? The rest of the Banelings come forward, but into a line through more and more storms. And this is actually with Gerald having another army on the left side about to kill the bases.
Wow.
This is spectacular play from our Protoss, as I think he is winning this game. He's going to be on top of the reinforcement line. Although the Hydra numbers is large and the High Templars are now gone, this is... I mean, he might not win the game right here, but this was actually pretty good.
It's super good. I mean, he's taking out one of the bases on the left side as well, and he may not be able to take care of these Hydras, but he still has an army on the left side. There's a random Immortal and Stalker shooting at drones everywhere. There are just multiple small skirmishes around the map. Zealots are going to run into the Natural, and they will actually get a pretty decent fight against a low amount of Hydras. So this is an excellent run by as well. I mean, Gerald is attacking 3-4 bases at once, and Lambo doesn't know where to look at.
He doesn't have enough Hydras, and he's run out of cash. He never had that big of a bank to begin with. All of his drones go down on the left. Both bases go down on the far left, and he is down to just 28 Hydras. And that's kind of it. Whereas Gerald is rebuilding his mothership in Tempest.
What an absolutely sick game by Gerald. Units lost resource depth 37,000 against 26,000. That really tells the tale of how well Gerald has been playing. All that Gerald really needs is a few more storms. Well, guess what, Zombie Grub? He's sitting on 7 High Templars, so he should have plenty of storm available. If he cleans up this Hydra army, I think Gerald wins the game. And that truly is a spectacular victory for the Polish Protoss.
They don't have storms quite yet, but it's ticking. 3, 2, there's 1, 3, 2. Oh, jeez.
Oh my god, no.
Oh my god.
No. Even Tempest are like...
The bank.
Yeah, Tempest are pretty good here as well. Because every single time they shoot, they pretty much kill Hydras. If you have +2, you 2-shot Hydras, so... These Tempests have a lot of micro potential as well. I mean, Gerald is running a little low on the army supply right now. The carrier is useless. He's got a cannon here. The Tempest just need to be microed a little bit. They can start one-shotting these Hydras. And I think that Lambo is just taking too much economic damage. GG gets called. Gerald wins an awesome game on Eternal Empire and takes the, I'd say, surprising 2-1 lead in his best of 5.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff, too. It's not like a cheeky all-in or the Adepts are clearly Lambo's weakness. This is where we'd argue that Lambo is his strongest. You know, he's kind of in control from the early pool, didn't win in the game, but didn't lose him it. He gets to play his super late game, and with a lead, too. I mean, Gerald was struggling to hold after the Adept and the Phoenix didn't really work out. And Gerald just holds. Yeah, like, I think Showtime was a great comparison. That's exactly what I was thinking of, except, you know, he didn't miss a force field and lose his High Templars. He actually played a very good game, thinking back to the block and the mineral line, to the time warp.
Yeah, that was
arms.
awesome.
Like, you got so many cool moments that it feels like Protoss just barely don't get in other games.
So I think two key moments for Lambo in that game is first, I think he got a little complacent when he's like, I'm on 4 bases, getting my 5th up, you're on 3 bases, this is all good. While Gerald was actually expanding at 6 o'clock, and Lambo didn't see that until that Nexus was up, and then all the static defenses started to finish up as well. So I definitely think that was a missed opportunity, because a single circling there could have given Lambo the heads up that he should have tried to be there a little earlier before all those cannons and batteries were being wiped in. But a much bigger moment, I'd say, is Lambo got his hive. I complimented him on hitting his transitions, right? He got his hive, he got his greatest spire, but then he never used the greatest spire, and he never built a single Viper. Well, like, I hate motherships because they always get abducted. If your opponent is not making a Viper, yeah, then all of a sudden motherships are absolutely fantastic. Like I said in the game as well, memes aside, like against Hydra Bane, if you have Archon, Immortal, High Templar, and a mothership, the mothership is the dream unit, like, no, hands down. Like, it's obviously the best thing you can have. Super tanky, cloaks the army, it's all awesome. It just kind of sucks against Vipers. If they don't make any Vipers, I mean, that mothership was fantastic, right? It helped out in so many engagements, and it really did just an amazing job for Gerald.
Yeah. If I could add to both points, like for the first one, the Banelings that we saw and were kind of like freaking out about the walls, that was fun, still ended up getting those probes. What I thought Lambo was going to do, I thought he was going to go for a big surround. I actually thought that would have been what killed Gerald, because I didn't see enough units to protect his High Templars with 20 more Banelings from left. Instead, they went into the third, which I don't think trading off for the economy was actually the better call, but hindsight's 2020. And then, second of all, the lack of Vipers. I mean, there are probably some Zergs out there who are like, no, feedback's too good now, like, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. No, but feedback really isn't that amazing. Like, it's cool when it works out, but the mothership, it tends to kind of like slide forward from the rest of the army, and it goes over stuff, right? Especially on Eternal Empire, and yeah, the Vipers can get the abducts. So I don't know, maybe Lambo is just kind of stuck in like, I can't believe he's not losing right now, and maybe got kind of stuck in that mentality. Yeah. But yeah, he gets stuck on a lair-based army, and that was a bit odd for him, as we really do respect his late-game Zerg.
Yep. Hey, I mean, he had a monstrous economy of sitting on 91, 92 drones, so I understand getting a little carried away and getting a little reckless with Hydra Bane, but that's a game that Lambo's not going to be happy with. And that means that now we are in a very, well, I would say a unique, unpredictable position where this man has taken a 2-1 lead and is 1 map away from moving on to the next round here in the lower bracket of DreamHack SC2 Masters Fall. Bottom left side of Ice and Chrome, the Polish Protoss player representing Team Axon, it is Gerald.
In the top right, as the blue Zerg, he is Lambo.
He's letting the dark side consume him after that previous game. Look how dark his room is.
I don't even know what that is. I see, yeah, well, it is getting kind of late over there in Europe, isn't it? So.
I mean, what time is it? It's not even 8 yet, not even 8 p.m. I'm pretty sure the sun is still shining in Bavaria or Berlin, wherever he may be at this point. I know he's been moving around a bit. Huh. But wow, I mean, this would definitely be an upset in my book. I know that Gerald is good, and Wadi said it as well in the little pre-game chat we had. Criminally underrated, this young man. Like, a lot of people always think as soon as he goes up against one of the bigger name players in Europe that he's just supposed to lose. Well, that maybe was sort of the case in 2019, but 2020 really has been an excellent year for him. He struggled a little bit actually qualifying for DreamHack SC2 Masters summer. It took him 3 tries, and I was a bit surprised by that because I rated him pretty decently at that point. But then he had a good showing, right, in that group stage, getting that clutch victory over Harstom on the final playday in Season 1. And now he's showing us in DreamHack Masters Fall that that was no fluke. Makes it to the playoffs again, and is now 1 map away from, well, increasing his personal best and making it to the next round.
Yeah, advancing would be fantastic. Yeah, Gerald kind of, it felt like he did what was, you know, yeah, the people who knew him and liked him would say, yeah, you can do that last season. And then this season, even the people that have been casting him a lot, you know, all of us, like, kind of went, oh, okay, he can do this. So that first happened in his PVT, which has always been a little bit more questionable, just because he would get into okay positions, but only after getting into some bad positions. Actually wins his Terran match, so that was a surprise. And then, yeah, the next question mark was like, okay, well, how's your Zerg? You know, we've had, let's just say, some complaints from other Protosses, and Lambo is a very scary Zerg when it's all about the stand-up standard stuff, right? And now we've got our question answer on that one too. Like, yeah, Gerald just looks damn good right now in all matchups.
And I was really impressed by his lack of F2. Like, the way that he just left units everywhere. I know that's something we can giggle about, but you see it so often, even in the pro games. As soon as the games get a little bit scrappy, it gets a bit hectic. We see funny unit movement. All of a sudden, all the observers are on top of each other. All the High Templars are in one place. Gerald played that with so much calm and composure. Always left enough units behind to make sure that it's so difficult for Lambo to not only break cannons and batteries, but then you also have to break the couple of zealots, the one Archon that's standing there, the one or two storms that you have to worry about. Incredibly well done by Gerald.
Yeah. I mean, I just love your phrasing for it, you know, like the lack of F2. Some of the people might say like great multitasking, but the lack of F2.
In the year 2020, you're either an F2 addict or you're soon to become one. But Gerald is still on the good side.
Apparently. So another Stargate opener from Gerald. His double Stargate really did not work out last game. That put him in a position that we thought we were going to lose in the game, in fact, alongside the Adepts. But it's Ice and Chrome, and I wouldn't necessarily hate another attempt to go for double Stargate or expedite, you know, into the late game. Maybe not off of that, but still just the general game plan. As you do see that a lot on this map. This map has mech and TVZ, and then for PVZ, it's shown a lot of very late game scenarios.
Yeah, that's perhaps even more impressive about Gerald's victory, is the way that it all started off. Like all these phoenixes just flying over queens left and right, then lifting 5 out of 6 queens, but only getting one, losing the Oracle, maybe losing the second Oracle, losing a phoenix on the retreat. Like, I think winning against good Zergs like Lambo is obviously difficult. I think all of it is doable. I mean, plenty of Protoss players have shown us that. But the fact that you can win a game like that after having a pretty tough start, even the 12 pool defense wasn't, I mean, it wasn't game over, but he lost a lot of probes, a lot of mining time. I don't think he was that happy with that start either.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the production tab. What's with the fast forge? He got a forge and then he got a third, but no Twilight Council, no Robo. I mean, is he setting up for like external Stargates or what is this?
I'm not sure. We see additional Stargates go down. Maybe he wants to get a very quick +1, but he's not starting a +1 yet. Loses the Phoenix. Gerald, why do you hate my Phoenixes so much? What's going on over here?
Did he? Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna assume he didn't like misclick, but he's even banking a bit, so I'm kind of curious if maybe he meant to throw down a Twilight Council and his probe got trapped or something. Because we see those two go down together most often in macro games.
I mean, +1 does take a little bit longer than charge, so maybe this is the way that he wants to line up charge and +1. That obviously means that his zealots will have a great time. Last game, Lambo was pretty greedy, basically went Lings into Hydra, but never really made any roaches, and roaches are kind of the enemy. Oh, oracles! Don't get a cancel, get the drone as well. Well done there. So maybe he felt that he can hit some sort of a +1 zealot timing, but nope. Blink is on the way, so Gerald just doing his own thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, his own thing also includes going up to 4 and then 5 oracles again. So, I mean, well, I guess he's not going to do the adept attack with the oracles again, since he just threw away 3 of them. So, it is just 5 oracles, which, you know, Lamb already sees 4, so it should be ready.
Keeping Zergs on 3 bases is quite sweet though, right? I mean, that's in general something that any Protoss player would sign for, no matter how you really get the job done. And if it gets done by building a whole bunch of oracles, he's not going to try to get his get something done in the main base, but there's so much NTR here that I think he should reconsider that plan.
Yeah, he managed to save all his oracles, but might have been even an insistence on scouting there, wondering if there was a Spire hidden back, but went to the Hydralisk Den. Well, he was already back there, so a recall has to be used. He now knows that it is not going to be a Spire. Hydralisk Den was wiggly jiggly, and we see there's an infestation pit on the way, so safely into Blink +1. Maybe a bit of a poke with that Blink +1, but I don't think it's actually going to do so much. Although 5 oracles, I don't know. And then into Colossus, so that standard setup for PvZ nowadays.
See that Lambo's build was definitely a bit thrown off by all these oracles being annoying and cancelling his fourth base over and over again, because he was supply blocked and fired up 7-8 overlords at once. Now if you're at 77 drones, that's not the end of the world. That's nowhere near as big as getting supply blocked when you're at 40 or 50 supply, but Obviously, all of these things don't help, and I'm actually a bit concerned for Lambo here. He just wants to get into lurkers again, kind of the way we saw him try to get into lurkers on Everdream. Now, of course, Everdream, he had a disastrous start, but this also wasn't the best start ever because it took him such a long time to get 4 bases up and running.
Yeah, that's a good point. He did, I mean, Lambo had some better mining, but it really didn't quite reflect what the drone count was because it literally only just got mining to 4th base. So it's starting to really get up there, but it took a little while. Lambo, I think, is still going to get to that lurker hive, but if Gerald shows a similar game to Everdream, it's like, that's no longer just like, oh, I've got 20 lurkers and now you're dead, right? Like, he showed pretty good control over the map, even as Lambo did as well.
Gerald's flying around with his oracles, is kind of looking to push back the creep a bit. At the same time, the stalkers are doing a good job in just gunning down overlords in the bottom side of the map, making it pretty difficult for Lambo to really figure out what is happening. This is going to be such a scary moment. The queens are actually all by themselves. The hydras are not here to help out, but transfuse is one hell of a drug, and the queen will stay alive.
Yeah, so they got the creep tumor, but they're instantly replaced. So, oh well. Not even really bothering to push out with the Blink Stalkers. I mean, he's just clearing up Ling Run-bys, which is bad either. That means that Lambo is going to get a lot of time to build up the lurker count. Should be starting up the range. There it is right now. All the upgrades as well. And, I mean, I assume that... Well, I actually wonder who's going to be the first to push out. I would assume Lambo, when he has the range anyways, but Gerald might actually try and move out just to control the game, control the fight a little bit more. Not going to find a +1 Carapace. Been tempting.
Yeah, whenever I see an Evo chamber there, no army units, be like, timing could be awesome here. I mean, now I'm just thinking back of those 5 random stalkers we saw on Everdream that somehow got a hatchery. Now, obviously, there were like 7 fights happening at that point, but still, stalkers are in a very awkward spot right now in the center of the map, but Colossi are here to save the day. Lambo does almost have lurker range. Getting more and more lurkers now out at this point as well. No Vipers yet though, even though he's been maxed out for a while. He's at 87 drones. He's setting up a sandwich with the lurkers and roaches as well, but has to be a bit careful here, maybe just a counter attack.
Yeah, he might have been thinking about it, but decided to go for the run by instead. Disruptors are on the way out, but not here yet. And
getting the Robos.
Might want to recall. I think I'm going to save the Robos.
Yeah, I would love to see these roaches just go for the Robos here. I think that's the best target you can have for. Rico is going to get used and disrupt the spot. Oh no! That's a good spot. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was worried about the disruptors too. I mean, Lambo didn't focus fire in the mission initially, but still splitting against them worked too. Kind of sucks to lose the disruptors. Maybe if he had recalled faster, you would have lost them, but a humongous warp into the main base. That is a lot of zealots right there. They could go for the Spire, they could go for the Lurker Den. The army of Lambo is retreating to deal with that, but it looks like all of the army. Lambo is not going to be quite in position to deal with the main army of Gerald heading up towards the left side, plus the Oracle swooping into the 5th base, and Gerald is in 3 places, maybe even 4, with a single zealot in the natural.
Yep, Gerald is just hitting multiple angles again. At the same time, he's going to push up the creep, finds the queens in the center with his stalkers and colossi. I'm with you there, by the way. I mean, 22 drones, this is awesome and stuff, but the thing is, Lambo's still maxed out, has plenty of bases. I would have loved to see him go for that lurker den. He had so many zealots there. There was quite some service area on the lurker den, and it would have stopped Adaptive Talents from finishing up, and then this stuff wouldn't happen because this army right now is incredibly exposed. These lurkers have no fear, they just run into it. And the Colossi go down, but Lambo is still taking an absolute beating on the top side of the map.
Yeah, with 27 drones killed, Lambo is still at 79, but he also lost that 5th base, so his mining has once again been hampered. The Stalkers of Geralt can't do too much to help, but where the storms, nope, not there. 3 of them instantly get taken down. Stalkers on the right have to retreat. The lurker number isn't actually that impressive, but Geralt's army isn't really all together quite yet. No immortals, not a whole lot of zealots, coming in from 2 different directions though with a lot of storms. He's gonna try and make it work. Disruptors not finding the lurkers. 5 of them still shooting here, are doing so much damage, and the stalkers could not compare to the hydras on the right side.
At least I feel like Gerald bought himself a little bit of time. Needs to micro his Colossus here though. Does still have a battery. I don't think battery overcharge is available. He already used that before. Needs to save these disruptors before these Archons finish up. He's got more disruptors coming in from the top side. He's sitting on 2,000 minerals as well. I actually think Gerald is okay here, and surviving is massive.
Ah, man, he barely cleaned everything up. The right side went so poorly for his stalkers, and those lurkers, the 5 lurkers, they were like being attacked, but they didn't die that fast. That's what was really worrying about them. That's where the immortals usually are chunking away and getting rid of them, super quick. So that's what I was worried about. But once again, kind of similar to the Everdream game, it's like, oh my god, is Gerald, is he losing? Is he going to lose control of his base? But Lambo's attack, when everything is all said and done, actually looks pretty dedicated. Looks almost all in because his economy really isn't where we would expect his Zerg on Lurker Hive to be.
Nope, those oracles really did wreak havoc on the top side, and then obviously the zealots in the main base got some economic damage done. Gerald right now is like, maybe I'll get a fleet beacon. I feel like I can afford it. Obviously was sitting on a lot of money, spent most of his minerals on a ridiculous amount of static defenses. Like even that previous fight, I think if that cannon and the battery with overcharge wasn't activated, that fight would have gone like 5 times worse for Gerald. But having that Archon just stay alive way longer than it ever should have stayed alive, I feel like really bought enough time for the rest of the units to show up, and in the end make that a somewhat successful haul.
Oh my gosh, okay. The disruptors almost took out the lurkers, but the abducts barely helped out. That was kind of a funny situation. They both were a bit surprised by each other, I believe, so that was a lot of disruptors that just died. There was like 5 of them.
I mean, there was a fight between Zealots and Roaches on the top side of the map that I was kind of looking at as well. So I feel that at least Lambo was microing his Roaches, that's for sure. That's the way it looked at. Now Lurkers are running into these gateway units. Lambo, what are we doing? Just burrow one of them, but you cannot really be afforded. You can't afford to lose units like this because Lambo has no bank at all.
Right, yeah. I mean, Gerald might have lost a big chunk of army, but he did keep all 5 bases alive and running. So he's had his bank to kind of fall back on. His gas, he's trying to afford Stargate units, so his gas isn't that depressive, but neither does Lambo. Lambo finally gets to the bottom right base up too, not quite mining yet, and Geralt is headed towards it. Well, he also expands towards it. He wants to take this bottom right.
I love how Gerald is just attacking with like 30% of his army at best. He's got so much stuff at home. He's got disruptors at home, carriers on the way. There are units left behind everywhere, but he's like, well, Storm is pretty good. Does he really want to run into Storm? Well, with Lurkers, you never know, so I'd love to see Gerald be a little bit careful. The fact that he's now getting carriers as well, like carrier disruptor is the absolute dream. I think against any Lurker-based army, the only thing he really has to worry about is Vipers, but he's got plenty of High Templars to work with as well. I mean, this is starting to look pretty promising for Gerald.
It is indeed. Lambo's trying to make some headway to the right side, slowly pushing his Lurkers forward, and these Lurkers are not going to be seen by Geralt. They are, actually.
Colossi does get abducted, and Storm does connect with a couple of these units as well. That was kind of funny. Gerald is moving his little army down in the middle, wants to fire his Novas forward. Good job again by Lambo avoiding those. And I feel like Lambo really wants to make some magic happen. He's like, 5 bases is scary, but 6 bases is something I really want to prevent. So he's going to go for it. Is there an observer here? The answer is yes. Lands Storm, but only gets a single Lurker there.
Yeah. The Archons couldn't really jump on top, and the Zealots, I guess, weren't there yet. So, again, not quite able to power down the Lurkers. Plus, there's all the ones on the bottom side that he knows he's going to have to deal with. If he commits to this fight, it's going to be a dragged-out fight, since Lambo has so many. That's committal, though. That's a lot of Zealots coming in to help out the Archons. No more Storms to help, but very little supporting the Lurkers. Kind of awkward leaves the Lurkers there. I guess he's just focused on somewhere else. Lambo's attacked into his 3rd base and are finding both Robos. That's also his Observers production. He's got 2 Observers, so that could be a big deal.
We're gonna get the recall as well. I would love to see him snipe that Observer and takes out that Observer. So now there is only a single Observer remaining, and that is with the main army. Now this army of Lambo is in a bit of trouble, but I still feel this was a successful run by getting both Robos here and stopping any Observer production at this point is awesome, especially because there is only 1 Ops and there are no Oracles alive anymore.
Right, exactly. And he's not exactly replacing those Robos too quickly, so that's a bit worrying. I mean, remaking Oracles could happen, but he needs to remember to do that. He needs to notice that he has to do that. Unfortunately, nothing was left on the right side, so Nexus does go down, but this also might be a fight that Gerald actually takes, as he also moves up Zealots, top 12 o'clock position. There's a couple spine crawlers there, but that's a lot of Zealots.
Yeah, the Zealots should have a good time here. I mean, actually, Gerald only has +2. I'm a little bit surprised by that. You'd kind of expect the Protoss to have +3 by now, but he's been mostly relying on the spellcasters. This army is pretty serious of Gerald. He's going to try once again to take out 2 bases at once. That's quite a few Lurkers to run into. There's only 1 Observer. Lambo should really snipe it off if he can.
That was a bit awkward. Disruptor hitting more Zealots than Lurkers, but eventually all the Lurkers taken out. Only 2 more able to retreat there. The Zealots bypassed the Slang Crawlers, it looked like, and headed towards a more vulnerable fourth in which they are doing a decent bit of damage, as well as forcing Lambo to respond. So, yeah, like 16 drones plus the right side base, and the Lurker count currently only at 2. Lambo's army is not looking that fantastic. I mean, where is his army supply?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but he just made a bunch of desperation roaches as well, I think, because I think he was a little afraid of all those Zealots and that damage getting out of control. So he's like, all right, we'll get a couple roaches, put those in choke points. But yeah, definitely a very scary situation for Lambo to be in at this point. I mean, can you believe that we had a TVZ series that didn't really deliver, and now this PVZ series is just absolute bananas? There are so many fights happening. It's so much fun to watch. And obviously, it's a very tense moment for Lambo with his tournament life on the line. He is counterattacking one more time. I mean, that's so adventurous considering there is such a scary army in the center, but it seems like he's getting away with it.
He is slowly building up to a more perfect type of army. As you pointed out, those kind of emergency roaches aren't really what you want to do anymore. So if he can actually get to Lurker, Hydra, Corruptor, his army might be a little better. Maybe, I don't know about Brood Lords later on, we'll see. Army kind of gets surrounded, so it is going to be taken out. That means Lambo not able to really replace that too easily. His gas being a major issue. Even as he takes on 2 more bases, he really needs to get the gas mining. So he's at 11 Corruptors and 10 Lurkers, 3 Vipers right now. But 9 High Templars? That's feedback and storms galore.
These armies actually just kind of looking at each other. The Novas go forward, and they are big. They connect with a lot of the Lurkers. And that means that Lambo does not only lose a lot of army supply, it loses a lot of HP on the units that do stay alive as well. More Zealots running towards the top side of the map. Gerald has retaken the base at 6 o'clock. And Gerald is just playing an absolutely fantastic PvZ series. It's really fun to watch. It's impressive. We do have a couple of carriers getting abducted in the center, but they're not going down. And I mean, the moment that happens, you know that the game is going well for you as a Protoss. Because at this point, I feel that Gerald really can force the fight. He wants to force the fight. And with all the splash damage, it has to be a good one.
Well, those Lurkers are still weak, so 1 Disruptor shot actually kills them. Doesn't even get the Mothership with an abduct. That is a terrible sign. Gerald might only have 30 more overall supply, but it feels like he's already got this game. Lambo's going to have to hope for some better abducts, a better angle. Maybe he takes out the High Templars when Gerald's not looking, but I mean, it's not even about the army fights anymore. Gerald just like goes around and kills a base to the right and maybe a base to the left.
Novas once again connecting with a couple of the Lurkers. We already had 42 Lurkers go down in this game. The Corruptors do dive on top of the Protoss army. The Mothership finally goes down, and a couple of these carriers may go down. This is kind of a decent fight, I think, at first, at least for Lambo, as a couple of the Lurkers do survive. But when you look at the bank, and you're like, is this enough? I mean, it's enough to survive. It's enough to win the fight. But I don't think it's really enough to claw his way back into this game, because he's got nothing left. He's got 50 gas in the bank.
I mean, that was the fight I was kind of hinting at, like maybe he actually gets a better angle. I don't know if it was a better angle, but he did get a decent fight finally there. It is really hard to win rematch. That is absolutely true, but maybe he can carry this on, get a bit of momentum, de-skill a base. That pylon is quite the Artosis pylon. Everything gets depowered. Corruptors even pinning on the Nexus to help kill that one. It's not a lot of mobility right here. They are some weak Corruptors, though, so I'm worried these Archons get some fantastic shots. It's not over for the carriers. They have been reinforcing, 3 of them here. Very weak Corruptors. An Archon hit. Just 1.
I mean, at least 1 carrier goes down, but the other one do survive, and Lambo is struggling for anti-air at this point. I don't know how much detection we have. Well, there's no observers. I mean, that 1 cannon, that's the only bit of detection that Gerald has at this position. The amount of probes long distance mining here is pretty intense as well. I mean, we're talking about Lambo being broke. Lambo does still have that base at 12 o'clock, so maybe he can start saturating that base. Wow, Lambo is definitely sort of alive and trying to stay into it. I thought his hatchery was up, but it's not. And now Zealots are going to cancel it again. That was exciting, though.
I mean, the top left base, yeah, is one thing, but I also thought the middle right base, the, I don't know, 4 o'clock one, I thought that was going to go down, too. So the fact that that's actually still mining is a pretty big deal. It really was like one of the last bases mining as everything else gets mined out. So that's just enough to reinforce, just enough to carry the momentum, take out one of Gerald's bases. And it's not like Gerald really felt I mean, A, the need, or B, like the ability to start just mass expanding everywhere. It's ice and chrome. Eventually, you start kind of running into each other's sides of the maps when you expand. So this left base doesn't even look like it's going to get up here, and Lambo is absolutely fighting back. Gerald felt like he had such momentum, but once his army got actually pounced on, things really changed.
At this point, though, 6 carriers against 12 Corruptors. That's got to be a pretty damn good fight. The Corruptors do have +2 air armor, so that does make them a lot better against the carriers, of course. But still got to worry about those Archons. You still have to worry about the Storms. I mean, the fact that Lambo managed to max out again, I already find very impressive. Now, we do still have a whole bunch of Roaches, so maybe it's a tiny bit deceiving. These Roaches are about to get slaughtered by Zealots in the top left side. I mean, I love this non-stop tug of war that we've got going on over here in the top left. It's like Roaches, Zealots, Roaches, Zealots. It's kind of trying to overpower each other.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald certainly had a bigger mineral bank, and he's using it to great effect with those Zealots, making sure to keep that one Observer alive, too. Taking out the Queens, finally taking out this middle right base. Once again, delivering a powerful blow. Lambo's economy. I do want to highlight that Lambo was doing a great job of upgrading his Corruptors. He was on 2 Spires. He is at 2-2, where Geralt was actually pretty late to his own upgrades.
Sorry, Jess. High Templars left behind. Mr. Recall. Lambo, kill him. Okay, Lambo does find them and sends only 3 Hydras forward. That's 3 High Templars. They were sitting on a lot of storms, so that's a pretty good pickup, especially because the gas bank of Gerald is getting a little bit lower as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a mistake. And Geralt, I mean, he's not only taking his bottom right base, but kind of the middle one there too, and his top left. I thought that was going to go down. His Zealot reinforcements really came in clutch. Couldn't take down Lambo's base, but they've saved his, I don't know, what is that, 7th at this point? And while Lambo is headed towards it now, he doesn't realize, well, now he does, that Geralt's army is already hitting him, so he's got to retreat back. He's got to find a good angle here. It's going to be 17 Corruptors against 7 carriers. No Archons, but 8 High Templars.
Yeah, plenty of Storm available. Don't see any Spore Crawlers here, so the Corruptors need a magnificent fight. Parasitic Bomb is being dropped as well. One of the outer carriers storming the entire Protoss army. The carriers are still sort of alive, and at this point, Gerald, you just need a little bit of anti-air. Where is that bit of anti-air? Well, it doesn't matter.